Krista Gibson, and this is Growing Older and Wiser. Today, I want to ask you a question, which is, who are you? And I suspect you've asked that question of yourself more than once in your life. When you look at your life, you can see how your identity in the outer world has changed many times, starting from when you were a child and a student, maybe a girl or a Boy Scout, and you get into high school, you're a teenager, you get into college, you get a job, you have all different job titles during your life. So there's always this identity that's going on. Well, once you're on the spiritual path, or the metaphysical spiritual path anyway, you know that you have a soul self and a higher self and a core self, and that's who you really are. And then all these other things are the roles and identities that you play. Well, as we age, we get to change our identity yet again. We went from childhood, adolescence, to adulthood, to middle age. Now we get to look at, I don't want to say old age, but okay, growing older. And part of growing older and wiser is choosing our new identity. As we've come up over the years, perhaps we had an identity kind of thrust upon us, maybe one we weren't all that comfortable with. Not everybody really wants to be a parent, and yet sometimes there you go, you're a parent when you didn't really want to be. Or perhaps you had to take a job because you needed the income, and so you were a welder when you really wanted to be a lawyer or an accountant or a doctor. So these kinds of things happen. Well, now you're at a point where you do get to choose, and you can decide what is your identity going to be. What do you want your new identity in life to be? And at this point, it's likely not associated with your work. What can be really fun is choosing what your identity is going to be and then moving and living into it. I'm getting to have that experience right now. My identity has changed many times over the years, but one of the identities that has been really stable for me, for 40 or 50 years, has been that of being a publisher, publishing newspapers, publishing my own books. One book I published as an anthology of other people's work, but so my astrologer, Libby Kresge, who used to be my astrologer, she's passed on, one of the things she would say to me almost every reading was, who is the real Krista? Who are you when you're not the publisher of the New Times? Who are you when you're not the author of your book? Who are you when you're not these other things? And so she was always telling me, that I had a tendency to get caught up in my work and work identity and the work that I was doing, and she was very right. And so over the years, as I sold my first newspaper and then shut the last one down because publishing has changed so much that it's just not what it used to be, and I don't enjoy it the same way. I used to love publishing an actual newspaper that you could feel and hold and smell, as did many of my readers. But we've gone the way of electronics now, and that's fine. But then the big move came when we moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Who am I here? I hardly know anybody. I can count on one hand the number of people that I know here, and they're not people I spend a lot of time with. So I'm in a position right now of getting to 100% choose who I am and what my new identity is. And what's really interesting and fun is that, when I go places here, nobody has a clue who I am. Back where I used to live in Washington State, there were certain stores I could go to, places of worship I could go to. People did know me and were interested in me and cared about me and, were interested in what I was doing with my life. Here, people could care less. I'm just whoever this woman is that walked in. They don't even care. And I've made no effort to change that. I've made no effort to reestablish myself with any kind of a role or identity because I realized I really want to redefine myself. I want to change my identity as to who I am in the outer world. And it's enabled me to really get even more in touch with who Krista is in her inner world, which of course is going to impact the outer world. So I want to kind of toss that out to you. And obviously I have no idea what your life circumstances are right now, but I suspect if you're watching this and you are in the aging process consciously, you are perhaps in the same position where you can choose your identity. Who is your core self? Obviously, that's the number one thing to ask and to know is, who is my core self? Who am I? But the second part of that is, okay, who am I going to be in the world? And maybe you're in a situation where you're with all the same people you always have been, and they kind of have an expectation that you be a certain way and have a particular identity. So it might be a little more difficult for you to say, no, I'm not a writer anymore, I'm an artist. Or, no, I'm not a mom or a grandmother anymore. Yes, I'll still play that role, but I'm a dancer. I'm a traveler, whatever. So I put out to you, if you haven't been thinking about it, number one, who are you? And number two, what is the identity you want? And maybe the identity you have right now is exactly the one you want. You're happy with it, no need to change. But if you would like to have a new identity, this is the opportunity for you to do that and have fun with it. It is so much fun to disassociate yourself from any outer identity and just, okay, who is this person and how am I going to present her or him to the world? There you have it. Who are you and who do you want to be?